The topic for today is how to start assessing your shooting. It's, if it's easy, everyone would do it. So I've got some guidelines or some places to at least start. The first thing is that I'll suggest there's a couple different modes of practice, and you could just slow down and shoot at kind of a comfortable, normal pace, but that's probably not the place where you're going to learn anything, so you want to shoot just more aggressively. Beyond that, where it's a little bit uncomfortable or the targets look a little bit messy, you might not get the results you want, so you're not necessarily looking for an outcome. Instead, kind of shooting in observation mode, where you're just paying attention to what happens and then trying to learn where to direct your training based on that. So, the thing I'll suggest is just set up some drills, whatever, something you saw online, something a friend does, something you saw in a book, wherever. It doesn't even have to be a drill I use, just a drill you like. And the first thing I think is important that people miss is aggregate scoring. So, I'll say you shoot the drill, for example, let's say you set up 4 targets and you're just shooting them each twice. So target 1, target 2, target 3, target 4. It's easy, or just human nature, to focus on either the best or worst, but I think the trends are actually the important part to pay attention. So what I'll suggest is that left to right drill, shoot the exact same order, but 4 times in a row, 3 times in a row. And then at the end, just look at the targets and as a whole, determine what's going on. For example, you notice all the bullets kind of cluster to one part of the target. You keep missing one of the targets. There's a far target and the hits are climbing higher. You notice at distance, you push on the gun, maybe you're seeing like low left ones, or up close, assuming you're a right-handed shooter, low left because you really want to go fast. You could feel yourself pushing into the gun, maybe get trigger freeze, or maybe the targets all look perfect. So each one of those scenarios tells you something. The important part is to, again, not look at the best one or the worst one, just look at the trends. So what's happening over and over again. For the example, if the targets look perfect, you don't see any issues, then the feedback has to be just go faster to see what breakdown, what happens. Because you don't want to shoot so carefully or so deliberately, for the purposes of training anyway, where you're not making any mistakes. So instead, you push just at the pace, you start to have some little oopsies, some little issues. And I'm not super concerned about an oopsie that happens 1 time out of 4 runs. For example, let's say you miss your draw 1 time. So you're kind of like, you can't quite find the dot, but that's something that happens maybe 5% of the time. While I'm not saying it's nothing, it's not the thing I would focus on. Instead, I'd be looking for the things that happen every single run. But if you don't know what you don't know, how to assess your shooting, I'll suggest you're going to get feedback in 2 different ways. It'll be something you feel or something you see. We'll talk about the feel one first. So let's say I'm shooting, whatever, I'm just shooting my targets, and I can tell, like the shots are going low, and I'm not sure what. So I could pay close attention to my hands and the feeling in my hands, and feels like I'm kind of pushing into the gun, or I'm fighting the gun when it's recoiling, or I'm watching the sight and I see the dot bounce and then it goes under the target and then it comes back up. It's like, all right, I'm not exactly sure what's happening, but I don't like it. So falling back to what I said, it's either look at vision or like the feeling in your hands will be the way you're going to determine what's happening. So if I watch the sight do that, okay, something in my hands, do I feel like I'm pushing on the gun, which for this example would likely be the case, or it could be vision in the rate. The way I get the conclusion is, well, I keyed in on to begin with. I saw the sight doing something I don't like. It's like, okay, I noticed the sight's going under my sight, my eye line. The dot's going low after I shoot on the targets. That's something. So am I looking low or am I doing something with my hands? So those 2 ways are going to really help you with feedback for determining what's going on. It's either like, let's say I'm doing my previous example, or I'm shooting 4 targets, and on one of the targets, the hits just go everywhere. It doesn't really look concentric. There's kind of just bullets all over the place, not really centered up. Then it's like, okay, was it something I did with my hands, or is it something I did with my vision? It's like, well, come to think of it, I was kind of just looking at the whole target, not really the middle. So I'm going to call that a vision issue. Then I'll do the drill again. Like, hey, did I feel something in my hands? What did I see? And like, well, I looked, in the middle of the target, and I still shot. The shot still didn't go where I wanted to go, but my vision was good. I felt like I was looking at the middle. Well, what were my hands doing? Then you could do that same thing again, like thinking about your hands. Hey, I think I must be pushing into the gun, or when I press the trigger, maybe like the inputs are changing. So as I press the trigger, I could feel like one hand tightens down, one hand relaxes, and the pressures kind of change while I'm shooting. So again, I'll suggest the best way to get feedback or to start assessing your shooting is either pay attention to something your hands are doing or the vision piece. Am I looking at the target? Do I feel like maybe I'm looking at the sight? And there might be some times where you're shooting a drill or scenario or a stage, whatever, and you're not really sure what happens. So if you don't have one of those two to fall back on, I will suggest videoing your shooting. Either you could use like your phone set up on a tripod or just a table for kind of third-person view, or if you have a GoPro, that stuff can be really, really helpful. For example, for movement, let's say you just watch yourself run through the stage, and let's say it's five stages that you got back to back for a match. Well, it's tough when you're reviewing your footage to really know what to look at. Because then I think, well, I look at the gun here, and I kind of look at my feet, then I looked at my shoulders, then I looked at the steel, and it's really easy to have your attention bouncing all over the place. So what I'll suggest is critique one area at a time. So you just look at your feet for the whole time. Are your feet flat on the ground? Are they spread apart? Does it look like you're in a wide aggressive stance? It's like, well, one time I wasn't, but all the rest of the shooting, yeah, that was pretty good. Okay, look at the next thing. What about the path the gun takes? While you're doing the shooting, you could just watch maybe the muzzle or the gun itself and see, like, does it have excess movement? Or if you're looking at it first person view, things to watch. Like, hey, I'm looking at the target and I see the gun kind of bounces all over and then it goes up to the target. I'm not really sure what happens. There's something's going on there. Or I'm pushing the gun really hard and I see it kind of bounce to a stop. So just reviewing the footage then, looking at just one thing at a time. Like, oh, I see the gun bouncing all over the place. So again, I'll suggest with two places to start for feedback: vision or some input with your hands. So if the gun's bouncing all over the place, was that a vision or an input issue? Suggest likely input, probably from your shoulders, your hands, really pushing the gun hard at the targets, and it's bouncing. So if all else fails, those two things are a good place to start for kind of like troubleshooting your shooting, because it's tough when you start shooting, you kind of practice and you don't really know what to do. So again, to reiterate, set up whatever drill you want, I don't care, but do, let's say, 4 runs or 4 strings of the whatever the scenario is, the drill. Then just look at your targets and look at the kind of the whole picture of what's happening. Not your best run, not your first run, not the one that had the best time, but just kind of where are things trending. And that'll give you a lot of information to go off of. Also, if all else fails, if you have the ability, having something to practice with is quite valuable, because you'll have another set of eyes on your shooting, and they can give you feedback for things that you think probably aren't happening, or you think things don't happen the way you think they are. I'll say it that way. For example, you feel like you're running really, really fast, but on video or your friends, like, oh, that wasn't so great because you had a bunch of extra movement, kicked out your feet, coiled up, the gun wasn't up when you got there, even though you ran really fast. So having another perspective or somebody to practice with is good. If you have it, the ability, what I'll suggest is, while one person's shooting the drill, the other person could be loading magazines, but just kind of observing that person shooting while they're loading mags. Patch the targets together, talk about what you saw, then just rotate. The next person's mag should be jammed. They're ready to shoot. While they shoot, the other person can be loading magazines, watching you shoot. So then it kind of gives you just an extra set of eyes. And if you don't have that, then either a GoPro type thing or even the camera with the recording software in them, or I'm sorry, the glasses with cameras in them, where you could just, wherever you look, it's recording. That's super helpful. Or if you don't have something like that, just having your table, your phone set up on a table where you can kind of see you from head to toe. Like, not, you don't want it super, like, you want it to be 20 yards away, but you don't want it so close that you can't see everything that's going on in the shooting. So you kind of want a happy medium. But then you have the ability to replay the footage, look at it over and over again. If it was something at practice, like a drill, you could just hit go on your phone, shoot the drill 4 times, go back to your phone, stop it. You could look at the targets, then look at the footage on your phone. And all you're trying to do is tie cause and effect. So some amount of input or something your eyes are doing or aren't doing or should be doing will be a good place to start for, like, well, I didn't look at the middle of the target and the bullets aren't going in the middle of the target. Or I felt like my hand kind of pushed into the gun and sure enough, the shots are low. So the faster you connect cause and effect, the faster you can kind of start to assess your shooting and fix those issues. Because once you know you're doing it or you understand what the issue is, that'll go a long way towards fixing it. The tough part is going out and shooting and not really knowing how to draw conclusions from the results you're getting. So hopefully that's helpful. Gives you something to think about. If you have questions, drop it below. I do my best to read through all the comments. If it's something easy to answer, I'll just answer it with a sentence or two in the comments. Or if it's something that requires more talking, I'll just make a video talking about it. So appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense. And I hope you have a good day.